Hey guys, today I want to talk about context and what context is. And I want to try to interject into you the context in which you have your faith and why you struggle with your faith. And I've already stated to you that sin nature is a lie. And all my videos are going to be from that context. And this is one of the reasons why. Because the context in which you view yourself will demonstrate what you believe. And I don't know why people can't see that. Well, sort of know, but I'm just here to encourage you along, so to speak, and I'm going to speak from that platform. And like I said, there's the only message in the Bible is turn to the Lord and live. And how you go about that is somewhat skewed, and it's religion that skews that, and Christianity preaches from a sin nature belief, and it's why you can get everything you want except for exactly what you want. It's why all the struggles that we have appear. So, with this in mind, the context of not being born a sinner is where I want you to go from. And we've already established that the Bible is the tree of knowledge and good and evil. And we can go into Genesis story and see the solution is to stretch forth your hand and take from the tree of life. So, we have our problem and solution found in the very first creation. But we're not in that context anymore. However, we are subject to the exact same problem. So, with that being said, we're going to be, or I'm using Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. And John chapter 9 in its entirety. And obviously I'm not going to read this for you. You can go read it for yourself. But in Luke 15, it's the story of the lost son who was born into a good family and had good substance. And he asked his dad for his portion of his inheritance from his father. And he promptly went out in the world and lived how he thought he should, and reduced himself to a pile of nothing. It gets so bad for him that he is working for a guy, and he's thinking about eating the food that he's feeding the guy's pigs. And then he suddenly comes to his senses and remembers that his dad is prosperous, and that he'll go back and apologize for being such an idiot and see if his dad will take him as one of his hired hands, because his dad's slaves ate better than he did. His father treated people better than the guy he was working for. And he goes back and he's super sorry and he apologizes, and his dad's rejoicing because here comes his son. He's still alive, and he restores the son. So he didn't lose his inheritance just because he made some mistakes. But he did lose his mind temporarily. So you can read that story, and the conclusion of it is, it was fitting that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is now found. Now you go into John chapter 9, and here's one of many proofs that sin nature is not necessarily true. Y'all have to forgive me. This is my meditation hut, so I smoke lots of cigarettes and study hard. And I'm going to read just a few verses of this, but chapter 9 is the entire story of what I have to say. And 9 verse 3 says, Jesus answered, well, now let me say it this way. The disciples asked Jesus, saying, Master, who sinned, that this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And this is Jesus' response right there. Neither this man sinned nor his parents, but the works of God should be made manifest in him. Neither that man or his parents sinned for him to be blind. So if you're blind, it don't necessarily mean that God doesn't like you. It also doesn't mean that you're a sinner. It might mean that God's going to use you to perform a work. And then, of course, if you read this, chapter 9, you will see exactly what you find in the truth movement. Is you got a lot of people thinking a lot of logical thoughts, and they're into all this shit that it is necessary knowledge, but it's useless from the context of a sinner, or there's some future date where everything's going to be okay. It's all happening right now. It's everything at once. But here's the conclusion of this. They answered and said, Thou wast altogether born in sin, and dost thou teach us? And they cast him out. That's what they did to the guy who was born blind. Jesus made him see. And then they're going to lump sin on the top of this man and tell him to get the hell out of here. So there's just one little snapshot of our world. And if you can get back to the moment where you hadn't been taught something or shown something or been led to believe or forced to do things, and were allowed to pursue your life in the proper context of you weren't born a sinner, that's the great work of Jesus Christ. And this is the one thing that they hold from you, is that you weren't born a sinner. Hope that helps you.